Hey, listen to that. I actually do have audio. And you probably want it down mixed to mono. Yes, there we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second GM Prep show, I guess, is what this is. It's more like a blog, and I guess anybody who's interested coming and hanging out while I make some notes about our Burning Wheel game. Um, so I know I haven't gotten a chance to do this for a while. First thing, I guess I should start making excuses right away. Things got really busy, and so been hard to kind of get everybody together. Um, I just started school. My kid just started school. Play last Sunday. Didn't get to do a prep episode, partly because of school, partly because of work. Had a bunch of stuff going on. I'm gonna try and keep doing these every Wednesday, but you know, with Burning Wheels, sometimes you just don't have a whole lot to prep, especially if you wind up with a session where a whole bunch of stuff doesn't change. Sometimes don't have time to do it. Sometimes I might just not have anything interesting to say, and I just need to kind of take care of housekeeping ish stuff. But I will do my best to just keep doing these and get them out there. And if any of you guys out there that are fans of the Burning Wheel or are getting ready to run your own game or aren't super familiar with the game and want to hear somebody bullshit about it like they know what they're talking about, that's kind of my modus operandi. If you are somebody who wants to watch the actual game, which we do stream here, uh, normally it is Sunday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. This week, because of some scheduling conflicts, we had to move it, so it's going to be Monday at 7:30 this weekend. Uh, Hi, aggressive. It's nice to see you. I actually have somebody in the chat room. That's almost never happens when I'm doing anything, but welcome. I don't know if I'm going to be able to respond to everybody as quickly as I'd like, but I will definitely do my best. But also, if you have any questions about Burning Wheel, I am happy to answer what I can. And if you ever catch me being wrong, you are welcome to call me out, and then I'll argue with you. And eventually, I'll have to suck it up and admit that I'm wrong because I'm a dude, and that's kind of what dudes do. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to shift over now, and I have our Roll20 screen open. You can see kind of the beautiful mess that we're looking at with this game. All right, so this is kind of what we got going on so far in this game, and it is obviously nuts. If you don't know what Burning Wheel is, and Aggressive is asking me that, Burning Wheel is a tabletop role playing game. Why, thank you, I appreciate the follow. Burning Wheel is a tabletop role playing game by a man named Luke Crane. It's been around, I want to say, since 2002 or 2004, but it's currently in its sort of third edition. We call it Burning Wheel Gold, which came out, I want to say, in 2010 is when the newest edition came out, and the text hasn't changed much beyond fixing printing errors and a couple of errata bits as they've run out of stock and then have reprinted it. So Burning Wheel Gold is the current version of that. It's the version of the game that we're playing. By we, I mean myself running the game. My wife Kristen is a player. My friend Matt Glover, who, if you follow on our Tuesday night D&D games, he is the GM for the Curse of Strahd campaign that we're playing through. His lovely wife Nicole is playing with us, and our friend Dustin, who lives. Those three, Matt, Nicole, and Dustin, all live in South Dakota. while Kristen and I live here in California. So yeah, that's it. Um, Burning Wheel is not like D&D at all. In case you're wondering, it's very character driven. Uh, really, it's a cross between character and player driven. A lot of the players kind of using. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, I've been working on it slowly over time. Uh, but it's fine. I'm used like this is a super niche game. I know that when I transfer this to YouTube, I'll actually get a bunch of views, and by a bunch, I mean like 20 or 30 people. That's a lot for me, and that's really all I care about, honestly. Nobody fucking watches my shit, and I'm okay with that. Um, I don't even remember what I was saying now. Okay, so here we go. Yes, so we've got myself and 4 players. This right here is a horrible, terrible relationship map. I should just build one in Photoshop and or Illustrator or InDesign or something, and use that. But no, I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to this. So the first thing, like the most important thing for Burning Wheel, what that is not necessary, but I do appreciate it. I'm not a Twitch partner or anything, so I don't even have like a Patreon or anything set up. I do all of this for $0. I've just managed to carve myself out some time from doing homework. But I do appreciate the offer. If I ever like actually manage to spend enough time on this stuff, I also cancel a lot, or not cancel, but miss streams a lot. So not that I want to turn any money away, but it's really not necessary. I am doing this pretty much just because I like to do it. Anyway, so let's take a look. So Yezi Bjorsen, this is our this is one of the characters in this game. It's my wife's character, and I'm going to go ahead and use her kind of as the example here. She is a human. Apparently, that's now a stock in the game. But right here is the most important part of the entire game of Burning Wheel. Seriously, this is everything about the game. Well, if I ever have some way of actually earning money with this, I will happily let you know and post that. I'll probably let everybody know when I have something going on. But thank you. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so here we go. Beliefs. Beliefs are the most important part of Burning Wheel. Beliefs in the book, they are described as a principled to-do list. I will do my best to stay active as well. I imagine this semester is going to get hairy, and me running 2 games, there might be some shaky scheduling going on. So I will do my best to keep on trucking. I also do some video game streams where I just basically play a game and do silly voices for all the characters. Do the whole thing. So in fact, I may even, if I'm not exhausted at the end of this, and I'll probably be on this stream for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. If I'm not totally wiped out after this, I will spend an hour playing a video game and doing what Twitch is supposed to do. All right. Keep getting sidetracked. Here we go. Beliefs. So, like I said, they're described in the game text as a principal to-do list. Uh, Ultimately, what this is, these are the things that the player is interested in engaging, and once I kind of go through this, I'll show you sort of the setting document that we have, so we'll know what kind of things to engage with, and that'll make some of these things make more sense. Every character has 3 beliefs. In her case, people will riot if Saksa is executed. I must work with Alduin to convince Numerius it was a justified murder. That will not make any sense until I explain this. Or, if you've been watching the game, the one actual session that we've done, which is available on my YouTube channel, then you'll have a better idea of what's going on. But that's her first belief. Her second belief: I must negotiate land for my people to keep and protect them and put a stop to the fighting. And her third: I have no true power so long as my children are here. I will work with the priests and rebels to get them back to my homeland. So this is one of the tricky things about beliefs in Burning Wheel, is that when we write them as players. We're essentially making a list of things that are the player telling the GM, these are the things that I think are cool in what we're doing and what's going on in the fiction of the game. But in order to get the character to mesh into the setting, the beliefs kind of have to be written through the perspective of the character. I always like to think of the character sheet for any RPG, but Burning Wheel is really the game that cemented this idea for me. Is that your character sheet in a role-playing game it's your user interface. It tells you all the things that you can do in the game. A lot of games tell you how good at fighting you are, like D&D. A fighter is very good at fighting. A wizard has, these other elements that they can do, but they're ultimately like the list of buttons and switches that the player can pull to make the game do what they want. Burning Wheel has a lot of those, and they all interact. I think Adam Coble. It may not be unique, but I think I've seen it attributed to him more than anybody else. Talks about Burning Wheel kind of being a well-designed Swiss watch, which is super accurate as far as this game. All of these things will tie into each other, both in terms of me. How are the graphics on this game? Well, the graphics are all in my head. In fact, I will show you what this game really is. Most RPGs use a big map and minis. Now, we're talking about pen and paper RPG. This is the 600-page horrible rule book for the game. Nobody in their right mind reads it from cover to cover. I've probably read it from cover to cover 8 billion times. But I guess really, since it's a role-playing game, the graphics are A, analog, and B, infinitely complex. All right. So, I'm going to get into the actual. Let's start with the setting doc. So here's the big picture, and I've gone over some of this on the last time I did one of these GM prep sessions. Here's the big picture, the overall kind of feel of things that we're going. A little over a year ago, Numerius Lurko, a military commander from the Mediana Imperium, declared himself dominus over Gostvik after a border war with the Debessian Confederacy. In the aftermath, Lurko initiated the gifting of land to Imperium citizens willing to relocate to the remote region. Unfortunately, Gostvik had long been occupied by the Varda, a people tasked by the spirits of their ancestors to protect and preserve the holy sites and ruins which commemorate the honored dead. Dominus Numerius Lurko has mostly pacified the region, but tensions between the Varda and the Imperials remain high. Uh, so what we did, and again, I know I've explained this for anybody just now joining and figuring out what this is. Yes, when we to answer your question, when we actually play, we have everybody on. We're actually going to do it on Skype now, and then this Roll20 is a virtual tabletop. So I can scroll here, and these are it calculates our dice rolls. If you were playing this at a table, you'd roll a handful of 6-sided dice to figure out whether you succeed in an action or not. But yes, we're all, when we play, we're all here, we're all talking together. We do our best to take turns, but on the internet it can be hard, so we wind up talking over each other. It's that whole lack of social cue things that make it challenging, but we're all getting better. We learn to do things to deal with these kind of things by doing them. So yeah, in for this tonight, this is literally just me talking about this game. I'm just going to be setting up kind of the stuff that's going to be happening when the group gets together to play on Monday. That's why I have this set to talk, because it's not even like, this doesn't even qualify for being a creative stream. Really, this is me just talking about about a game that we're going to play. So, for those of you guys who are video game literate, I guess, we had a few different inspirations for this game. This Burning Wheel doesn't have an established. There's not like a world that is the Burning Wheel world. Every time you start a new campaign, you begin the game by setting that up, deciding what you want it to feel like, what the situation is, what's going on, and then who you are. Well, thank you very much. Glad that you stopped in, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Have a good night. So when we were putting this together, our inspiration originally came from the video game Pillars of Eternity. I wanted to do a game. Some people were coming into your lands, and you were the people that had been living there for a long time. And these strangers decided that it was theirs, and they come in and they start like tearing down your ancient sacred sites because they give no fucks. And so that seemed cool and interesting, and something that would be fun to do. Why yes, I have seen the movie Jackass. Not in a long time though. Anyway, so yeah, that was the kind of the direction that we'd started going in when we were setting this game up. And then we eventually just kind of it morphed into being something a little bit more I don't know, interesting, widespread. Sorry, screwed all my shit up here. Uh, so that's what. So yeah, we started out with kind of that idea from Pillars of Eternity, and then as we were talking and discussing it, we started taking these sort of disparate ideas and mashing them all together. So what we have is a cross between that and if you've played The Witcher 3, the Bloody Baron in Witcher 3, where he just kind of came into this place, set himself up as the Baron, and decided that all this land is now his. That's basically what we've got going on. And then from there, we tweaked it even more. The Dominus, who's kind of the analog for the Baron in this game, his culture is really inspired by the Romans. It's kind of I guess, an easy go-to for this kind of game, but it works here. The Varda people are roughly Vikings. I was really thinking of things like the Gallic Wars, when Caesar was kind of coming in and pacifying the German tribes and acquiring Gaul for Rome, and basically lying about how well it was pacified. So the local people kind of have that Gaulish / Viking feel. I know that a couple of our players are big fans of Skyrim, so that was kind of an easy touchstone to hit there. And then we wanted to do something a little bit different. So the two nations at war, or that had been at war, the Mediana Imperium, and we decided that they were the Tebesian Confederacy, which is we'd really looked at like North African, like that region, Tunisia and Egypt, and kind of that south end of the Mediterranean area, and set them up as kind of a loose confederation of nations that kind of will band together in times of war and to settle trade disputes. Really like a super early kind of version of America, like before it was the Constitution and had the articles. So they're not super strong as far as ruling documents go, but it allowed some sovereignty of live there. So that's kind of the three cultures that we're dealing. So within that, we have a much tighter situation, and the situation is this: the farmer known as Pansa has been killed by a young Varda woman named Saxa. He basically cleared out a bunch of farmland, destroyed a burial site in the process. She went to go and confront him. The two of them got into a fight. She got lucky, bashed his brains in with a rock. He died, and then she was arrested. The idea is that, you know, these newcomer Imperium folk, they've been here for like a year. People have been coming in and setting up farmsteads. There's already people living here, a lot of which have gotten killed in the fighting. So neither side really has a whole lot of like military strength. The sort of local government only has legitimacy by the fact that they've been able to sort of kill everybody that's been able to fuck with them so far. You know, most of kind of the adult males of the Varda have been wiped out in the fighting. And now we have this situation where you know, it was tense already, and now things kind of came to a head with this one murder that was almost definitely, well, it was in the fiction of the game. Everybody knows that this was self defense. This was a totally justified crime, and but the uh, the the Dominus has to deal with this in order to kind of keep order in this territory that he seized. Um, so of course that brings us. We don't need to deal with all this other stuff. It's not really important. I only wanted to explain that because it makes some of this crazy ass bullshit a little more. It'll make a little bit more sense. Um, so first of all, I guess I should talk about who the characters are in this situation. We really can break them down into two groups. We have Yezi Bjorsen. Yezi, this is the character played by my wife Kristen, is she is originally from the Tibesian Confederacy. So she is if you picture her, picture a North African woman. She was married to the Jarl of Gostvik. She was effectively the not big enough to have a king. So kind of like the mayor. Like this is a city state. He had all the power in this region, but it's not like a vast kingdom or. But the two of them had been married, probably in kind of like a trade negotiation. I think those are some details that we still need to work out in play. But they had been married. He had 3 children and an older boy, and then a pair of twins. By they were the Jarl's children. The Jarl was killed when the Dominus took over. The oldest child was killed when he attempted to best the Dominus in single combat out of revenge for murdering his father. So, and she still lives in the in the sort of stone and wood hill fort slash not a palace, but domain domicile manor of the Jarl. So she still lives there, and that's also where where the Dominus has kind of taken over and set himself up as the seat of power. So she's in this really awkward position of being number one an outsider in terms of her origin, but then having to by virtue of her station as widow of the slain ruler advocate for the people of the land, like the native people, the Varda, kind of as their de facto cultural like cultural leader. She's the rightful leader of the place. And so really we can now kind of look at her beliefs and get an idea of where they were coming from. People will riot if Saksa is executed. Saksa is the young woman that was murdered. I must work with Aldwin, who's another player character, to convince Numerius, who is the Dominus, the Duke, if you will, the Bloody Baron. It was a justified murder. He wants to negotiate to allow the Varda people to keep their land because it's being given away, but also because her home has been invaded. The Dominus kind of has a some leverage over her, in that her 2 young twins are still there, and he doesn't really have any means to protect them beyond beyond diplomacy and negotiation. Uh, so she's trying to work with the local priests uh, of both the Imperium religion and the local religion, and faction of rebels that are outside, kind of outside the limits of civilization, trying to figure out a way to strike back at their oppressors, in order to get her two young children back across the sea into Confederation, where she. These are her instincts: keep calm and de-escalate. That one's, if you know anything about Burning Wheel, that one is maybe needs some work. We'll probably address it when it comes up in play. Instincts are usually something that is specific action you take in response to a specific stimulus, and de-escalation is a hard thing to do in Burning Wheel, because you can't really argue your way out of a dagger in the face in this game. Always protect Eric and Asta. That's her children. That one's an easy one to get. All I have to do is put her in danger, and that one gets in trouble. Never show weakness before others. Her character traits are rabble-rouser and collectivist. Rabble-rouser is really about, it comes from her background as a student. She's educated, but colleges have always been places where where students get together and debate and wind up deciding revolutions have to happen, and so they, collect a bunch of rabble and start, fighting back against the system. It's kind of what people thought of students at the time. Side traits don't really matter that much, and I'm not going to go into them. But she does have two relationships. Relationships are non-player characters, NPCs, that are important in the setting, and they're important by virtue of the fact that the player has paid points to make them important. So she's got Mako, who is the rebel leader of the faction that wants to take back their land from the Baron, and Gisela, who is another Varda woman, who really views Yezi as kind of a traitor to her people, to the Varda. Here she was, the wife of the Jarl, and now she's living under the same roof as this conqueror, and always trying to make peace between the two sides. So that's Yezi. We have next Aldwin Lurko. Aldwin is the younger brother of the Baron, played by Dustin, one of our players. Aldwin, here's his belief: I will keep Saksa under my protection until this situation has been resolved. I will find out who this quote-unquote father is. The father is another player character, as I do not trust him. And his third belief: get word to Mediana of my brother's position. Really, that one, it's the wording could use some work, but really it's about getting support from the proper authorities in the Imperium. Getting people over to enforce the legitimacy of this regime. His instincts, a lot of them are about fighting and being mean. If I feel threatened, I will draw my sword. How's it going, man? Sith Master, welcome in the chat. I like right now. I have the luxury of being able to greet people as they come in and talk to me because I get like 4 people watching these streams. But it's good to see you, dude. All right, so let's look at what this guy has. When he feels threatened, he draws his sword. When the situation gets out of his hand, I will take control of it through intimidation. Always fight to the death. And he has a special trait that gives him kind of a special fourth instinct. I always get a twinge in my stomach from impending danger. He has this trait right here, Sixth Sense, which lets him. It basically gives him spidey senses. It's what that does. So, like the concept of this character, yes, exactly, Sixth Sense. He sees dead people. No, wait, that's something else. So Aldwin, like his character concept was basically that he is, he was a soldier under his brother's command, and then once they kind of settled here, the Dominus doesn't. He doesn't want to deal with the day-to-day bullshit. Like, not. He's not stupid and he's not lazy, but he's a military commander, so he delegates. So one of the things that he has delegated is law enforcement. They don't have a big force sitting here, so Aldwin has kind of gone from being a military captain to the captain of the guard, and that's where he's like, that is the position he's in now. Which is always fun when you start the game with somebody who has justifiably murdered somebody else, and it's that's Aldwin. Colin is played by my friend Matt. Colin's character concept is that he is he's come into town to act as the priest for of the Imperium's religion, which we haven't really delved into the details of the religion yet. We know it's called the Path of Virtue. We figured any of the interesting sort of details of what they believe and things that they do are that's really grist for play. But the long and short of it is, it's basically the early Catholic Church right now. And that's kind of where we're going until it starts drifting, which religions always do in Burning Wheel. It's one of my favorite kind of areas to explore in this. Here's his belief. I was wrong to punch Aldwin. I will apologize and make amends by calming the townsfolk. There may have almost been a riot in our first session. Our session kind of ended with the priest and the cop getting into a fist fight. And luckily nobody died. But poor Father Colin has been arrested and is currently sitting in jail. That's where we're starting. The rift in this town is too great to ignore. I will convince both the Dominus and Yezi that funding a banquet for the poor of both sides would work well in bringing everyone together. That's an interesting belief. Belief 3, I'm sick of bloodshed. I will follow the path of virtue and put my dark past behind me where it belongs. He's really our first character, dark past, and I will show you what we mean by that. Here's his character burner worksheet. Father Colin was city-born, led to criminal, street thug, and then he was a bondsman. He basically arrested and then instead of being imprisoned, he was granted. Yes, it is actually a fate mine. It was intentionally built like that. Uh, Bondsman is a kind of it's kind of a shitty life path. Like all of the numbers here, it takes up a lot of time. Uh, it doesn't give you. I mean, it gives you more resources than being a street thug, but it's not great. It doesn't give you any extra stats. Only 2 skill points, uh, 2 trait points. Um, yeah, it absolutely is like like the what is it? The hostage? I think that's the hostage life path, which is the one where you're kidnapped as a noble and brought into. Um, so yeah, like his whole idea was that he had his bond had been held by a priest, uh, who he part of that life path lets you uh, learn skills that whoever held your bond had. Uh, um, and so his sort of master died before Colin could actually be officially like go through the rites, go through. Uh, no, he did not. Did he buy a rep with the priesthood? Let's take a look. Oh, it's not. Affiliation. Yes, he does have a 1D affiliation with the Path of Virtue, which is the religious organization. He doesn't have a relationship with the actual uh, priest because that guy died before Colin was actually able to be officially inducted into the priesthood. So he is a bullshit priest. He has not gone through the proper training to become a priest. But he does believe, and he has the knowledge that he learned at his at his master's feet. Yeah, and that was the thing is like we talk a lot about kind of where characters are going as we're building them, even when we're selecting life paths, and when Matt was building this character, there was really a lot of discussion about whether he wanted to actually be somebody who was fully vested into the priesthood, like an actual priest who had been sent here to administer to the flock because there was no there was nobody to minister to them, or he felt, and I tend to agree with him, that it was way more interesting to have somebody who wanted to have a second chance. Um, and I think that's one thing that maybe I hadn't been clear with explaining what was going on in this, is that when the guy took over, when the Dominus took this land over, he extended land grants to anybody willing to come live here, farm the land, homestead here, make this place a part of the Imperium. From his perspective, he's doing he's doing a noble thing. He's bringing prosperity to his nation. It's just that there were already people living here at the time. And so Colin, like as basically a thug, has come here to sort of get himself a second chance, and it just happens that his second chance came at a shitty time. So his instincts always answer a threat or insult with a sucker punch. Never allow a child to come to harm, and when looked to for answers, throw out some random doctrine. Because, like I said, he is not properly trained as a member of the priesthood. So he's flying by the seat of his pants. and he's not real great with it. He does have two relationships that are interesting here. Chadwick, who is a Varda, a young boy. I think he's 15, who has kind of become the altar boy. He's the assistant. He comes, cleans the church, does odd jobs. Uh, he he does actually own a ramshackle church. It is 100% possible that when Matt was making this character, he was watching a lot of Preacher, which I can't blame him for because Preacher is awesome, both the comic and the show. And that's kind of where he was going with this. So he's got Chadwick, the local kid that helps him in the church, and then he has a hateful relationship with Gwynham. Gwynham is a voice to the ancestors, which is the sort of Varda priesthood. The Varda priesthood are summoners and sorcerers. We're using art magic in this game. First time that I've gotten a chance to use it, so I'm kind of excited because I've not really play with art magic as much as I'd like. We'll stick him over here because as you can see, we're starting to. Not only is the situation dealing with these split loyalties, it's streamlined compared to how it used to be. It, I think it's hard on one hand because it's so open ended. It's like it's really broadly powerful. Yeah, compared to standard sorcery, you don't have to pick spells. You don't have to like manage a bunch of weird individual little effects. You just have this this list of things that you can do and then shape them in the fiction narratively, and different schools of magic are like prioritize that list differently. So it should be fun. We only have one player character, sorceress, so hopefully, like, I won't strain my brain trying to figure out actual rules. But they're not terribly difficult. Standard sorcery requires at least 2 tests for every time you cast the spell, if not 3 on a fail. I think that's right. Let me go over our last character here, and then I can actually do some prep. I've just been talking at everybody for like an hour because I get excited about Burning Wheel. We thought a little bit about going corruption, but a couple of the players aren't as versed in the system as myself and Kristen and Matt. I know that they both played before, but I don't think that they've played much. So we thought try not we're gonna try not to do too much with it this time. But yes, corruption is awesome. Also, corruption is great if you want to have like that Lovecraftian kind of thing. I think we might have talked about having death art in. I don't know. I don't remember if we'd actually talked about it. Right now we're good with summoning and art magic, because both of those are badass. So last character here is Feana. Feana is a Barda. She is a voice to the ancestors herself. So she is a priestess, a sorceress priest of the the Varda in our game are they're ancestor worshippers. from that perspective, the summoners uh, try and kind of uh, it's late and my brain's not clicking. They're there to mediate uh between the living and the dead, essentially. Um, which of course to the people of the Imperium, blatant necromancy. Because what else would it be? It's trucking with demons and the spirits. So here's Fiona's deal. I must protect the girl being Saxa. I can help her seek shelter in the woods with the help of spirits. I must help Yezi lay her son to rest. Her That's her eldest son, who was killed because he was hot headed. So he may join the ancestors. He was never granted any burial rights. That's the deal there. Uh, I must protect the ancestors' burrows by stopping the desecration, by stopping the new religion's worship. So so the people that have come in here have, they see these piles of stones and old ruins, and they take them down and make walls out of them and fences. And these are sacred sites to the Varda, where a lot of things come in. We actually have a lot of direct, like, player versus player conflict kind of built in. Let's see. Always commune with the ancestor spirits for an hour every morning. That's summoning practice instinct right there. It's one of my favorite kinds of instincts. Is, man, I would like my low skill to get higher slowly over time, so I don't have to deal with bullshit all the time. Never refuse hospitality when offered, and always show deference to an ancestor. Character traits are always in the way, dismissive and frustrated. She has one relationship to Rada, her great grandmother spirit. So this is kind of it's briefly mentioned in the Burning Wheel Codex. So it's like the Bible in the hymnal. Uh, there's a brief passage about taking taking spirits that as relationships as a summoner. So she has chosen to take her great grandmother, who is she's a dead woman. She's a ghost basically. As so, that's yep. And I know that these fade out, so it can be hard to see. But really, what we have are two. Not she does not have to summon her relationship. For the most part, I have always kind of taken the position that relationship characters, as long as it's justifiable in the fiction to have access to them, you can. Yeah, we just say yes to her being able to contact her relationship. And of course, that is a two-way street. Her relationship is always free to contact her if need be. Because the downsides of taking relationships with those who have passed on and are still hanging around is that their desires are strange. Yeah, and I think in the codex it actually does say, like, you don't have to summon these relationship characters if you've gone ahead and taken that. And it seemed interesting enough that I didn't see any problem with it. Like, it doesn't not that Burning Wheel is a game about game balance, but you know, it doesn't really offer any significant mechanical benefits to that character or anything. There was no reason to say no to it. So why not say yes? So with all of those, yeah, exactly. As long as everybody's on the same page about what's going on and what the implications of these things are, and everybody's fine with that, yeah, you can go ahead. And mechanically, you can really hand wave everything, and it's not a big deal. Like, say yes in Burning Wheel isn't rule zero. Like, throw out the rules if you don't like it. But it is, it's for. Is there any interesting conflict here? No, it would be shitty if you like paid points and then had to make a bunch of failed tests to try and talk to some to a character. Yeah, it's easy. So this I kind of made on the last stream that I did, and since we haven't gotten a chance to sit down and play, uh, I haven't had to or really needed to. Even after the last session, this relationship map doesn't change that much. And actually, this is where we'll start getting into the preparation proper. Finally, after an hour. So let me. Oh, I edit this. No, I can't. Some of this was made before people had named their characters, so I guess eventually I'll have to go through and change. So this is a relationship map. I made a legend over here because it's a goddamn mess, and I needed uh, to be able to see what the hell I was dealing with. Some games in Burning Wheel, you can, you follow a progression, right? Like, big thing happened. What's the fallout of that? You just have to prep the next thing and then work everybody's beliefs into it. I've really found that if your location, like the actual setting in which the fiction takes place in the game, depending on the scope of what you're doing, it really changes how I prep. It's not universal, obviously. Very few things are. I don't think I've ever met two players who prep for their games the same way. But really, like, when we have these kind of small, tight knit, like super local conflicts going on in the game, I find relationship maps are the most helpful. Once the game starts sprawling, once people start moving and traveling and having to deal with less social interactions and political maneuvering, not political in terms of like court intrigue or thing like that, because that's not really what we were going for with this. But this is now that I'm looking at it, like, in some ways, this is a dogs in the vineyard town that we're just doing with swords and wizards. This one location has all these problems, and all those problems need to have faces associated with them. And so that's kind of this relationship map points. Yeah, exactly. This is supposed to be a kind of a frontier thing. I would be lying if I didn't say that Kristen and I are both huge fans of Deadwood, and so, like, almost any time that we start a game that starts out this way, like, that feel really starts coming in, where it's like, here's this place that's kind of established and it has to change, and we don't know how it's going to change yet. And so the game is figuring out that change and all of the implications for the people in in the town. Uh, the, we didn't really get Deadwood was fantastic. It in this game there's not really a resource like there's not a gold mine or anything like that. The idea was that um, really like the people that lived here had been pretty good at keeping people out, and it was remote and unimportant. But what we wound up with was this guy, Dominus Lurko. Uh, you know, at this time, people are a resource. Land is a resource. Uh, he is ambitious, um, and he's smart enough to be able to recognize that, uh, despite the fact that it's remote, it's not so remote that you couldn't get tax revenue out. Uh, yeah, and it wasn't even that he wanted a war; he was already in a war. Uh, the the uh, the Tibesian Confederacy and the Imperium have been having border wars because they kind of I imagine them sort of butting right up next to each other and then having kind of a fuzzy border between the two of them where territory just keeps bouncing back and forth. The Gostvik, this area is kind of wild. It's in a mountain, like a mountain valley. I'm pretty sure everybody who had in the game who had played Skyrim was picturing Skyrim. Uh, yeah. Um, but these people had kind of been left alone, but they've got kind of like some farmland. Uh, there's probably some resources. They have steel, so there's got to be an iron mine somewhere. But they have timber, and there's resources, just natural resources to be exploited. Um, and this guy just happened to have enough military might to finally just kind of take over, pacify as much as he could, uh, left the women and children alive, and his position is basically like, as long as shit doesn't get out of hand, uh, and I can collect my tax revenue and from the locals and then pay my taxes, take my cut and then get the rest to the Imperium. uh we don't it'll be fine. And if it's far enough away that it would be expensive for uh the official power structures to come in and boot the guy out and install some more appropriate Imperium leader in his place. Uh, but if he can maintain control, then at that point, everybody kind of has to be like, well, everything's been working over there, so I guess he's legitimate. Uh, so he kind of has nothing to lose and everything to gain here, as long as he can stay and hold this. Um, so right, exactly. Squatters' rights. Only in this case, the squatters have more armies and bigger swords, and they've already killed off a bunch of people. Uh, so here we go. We've got the green. These are friendly relationships. These two are brothers. Here's Aldwin, our cop, and the Lord. They're brothers. And let's see. We have Gisela. This is an NPC. Gisela has a hateful relationship with Kristen's character. Since I set this as a drawing, I can't change the name now, but whatever. so she's the one that thought, you were supposed to be on our side, and here you are negotiating with the enemy. From her perspective, she's trying to make sure that more lives aren't lost. This lady doesn't see it that way. She is also the mother of Chadwick, who is the altar boy for Father Colin. Kristen has a belief about getting Fayana's help and Colin's help, both priests, who help her figure out a way to smuggle her two young children out of the country. Did I not make a note? Oh, should have made a note about this. A situational challenge. There's no official thing. That was just, I didn't know what else to call it. And of course, relationship with the ghost, Rada. So these two are both local priests. And with Kristen in the middle, that forces Fayana and Colin to have to work together through Kristen. That sets up kind of a triumvirate between the two of them. Gwynam holds an equal position in society to Fayana, and thinks that Colin is a blasphemer who has to die, and be burned to death, and not given any burial rights, and to become one of the restless dead. He hates Colin. So kind of here's where the actual GM prep starts coming in, because now I have to look at, we've gone through all of those beliefs. My job as the GM is to challenge those things, challenge beliefs, bait instincts if you can, if the other players don't do it for you, and give the players some opportunities to bring their traits into play, to show us who their characters are, and then that cycle, players write the beliefs, GM challenges those beliefs, they are either resolved and the player gets what they want, or they worked towards them and either advanced or suffered setbacks in pursuit of them. And the sort of assumed question is, do you still believe that? Is that still what you want? So the relationship map is a good way of kind of getting a visual overview of how all of those things kind of work together. So here's where we were when we ran before the actual first session a couple of weeks. And some of these didn't get hit. They didn't wind up making an appearance in play, which happens. That's why you have 3 beliefs and not just 1. A lot of these blue notes are things that I needed to come up with to challenge their beliefs. And I think only a couple of people wound up changing beliefs. Nobody got persona for completing them. So there's still a lot of these questions that are unresolved after the first session. So Gwynam, I have a character sheet for him. I think I created character sheets everybody as I needed them. Also, I'm really lazy about writing NPC beliefs. There's really a couple of ways to think about how to integrate your NPCs into a Burning Wheel game. I take my cue from Burning Empires, which really says that your NPCs don't have free will, and I think what what that's kind of getting at is that uh, the NPCs in a game like Burning Wheel, to an even greater extent, Burning Empires, but Burning Wheel to a great extent, um, they are vehicles for the GM to provide. Um, so I tend not to think about NPCs as like, what does this person want? Uh, Rather, like to think of them as uh, how can I can plausibly uh, use this character to foil somebody else, to challenge players' belief. Uh, so and it's one of those things where sometimes they hand you things on a silver platter, right? Uh, Colin gave me Gwynham as a as a hateful relationship, uh, which yeah, and relying on cultural traits are is another way. Like, there's no wrong way of doing it. As the only wrong way of doing it is if you don't challenge the player's beliefs. That's the only time that you're doing it wrong. Uh, I mean, you can't just like the fiction stops making sense if your NPCs like have these wild swings of you know, soap opera esque. You know, I'm on one side today, you know, and then somebody changes their beliefs, and now this guy's on a different side. And eventually, like, you know, with anything, uh, the more they show up and play, the more entrenched in the situation they become, and their, you know, the options of giving them beliefs that stay true to what the situation is become constrained, and that's natural, and that's what should happen. Uh, since everybody's kind of a blank slate at this point, this early in the campaign, these are the beliefs I have for Gwynham. This interloper priest is a blasphemer and a heretic. I will demand that Yezi denounce him to show her loyalty to our people. And this is another thing that's my kind of my favorite thing. And get into this in a second. His second belief: the Jarl's widow is a turncoat. I will not permit Fianna to give her the satisfaction of seeing her son join his father in the halls of. I can. Yes, Yezi is in this map. Yezi is Kristen's character. Hey, look, I fixed the problem. Uh, so yeah, this is kind of one of my favorite things to do. Uh, it would have been easy to just give this dude, since he has a hateful relationship with Colin, uh, a belief about going after Colin, right? Assassinating him or summoning some creature, since he is a sorcerer and summoner, just like Fianna is. They're both priests in this culture. I could have done that. Instead, I thought it would be more interesting to take the Apocalypse World route and try and create a PC NPC PC triangle between the three of them. So he's got a belief now about getting Yezi to denounce Colin, and that way, like, I get to challenge. You know, I get to sort of deal with that relationship right there and create this conflict. Uh, you know, these characters all have kind of things they want from each other. Uh, and so it kind of indirectly, like this one thing, one character's demand that you denounce this other player character, uh, kind of indirectly challenges a bunch of beliefs uh, altogether. And then he has that second belief, which is almost like it's almost in opposition to his first one. Here he wants Yezi to do something for him, to denounce Colin. His second is that the Jarl's widow is a turncoat, and I will not permit Fianna to give her the satisfaction of seeing her son join his fathers in the halls of the dead. So that one is actually a direct challenge to Fianna's belief about helping Yezi lay her son to rest. So now these two, now I've done exactly the opposite of what I did with Colin. I've put a direct challenge to Fianna's there. And of course I've left his third belief open just in case I see an opportunity to challenge somebody else. So that's what I've got there. Does Gisela have? Nope, she's blank slate. A lot of my NPCs, I don't, I create character sheets for them because I know I'm going to need them, or I might need them eventually. And using Roll20, I don't have to waste paper on it. But for the most part, I don't stat them out until I need to. And by need to, it's usually, oh, you want to make a roll against this guy? I guess I have to give him a stat now. Yeah, if you've got a thought about what to do, what else to do with Gwynam, like I'm all ears. I've only gotten like this far into the relationship map. I got a long ways to go. But yeah, no, I am 100% like I wouldn't be streaming this and talking to people if I didn't want input. Ooh, yeah, to shun Chadwick, the altar boy. Hell yeah! Oh, that's badass. About something like Chadwick has been seduced by for last Fianna doesn't have a kid. Fianna's boy. Are you thinking about Yezi? Oh, oh, oh! I see what you're saying. So yeah, this all gets super confusing, doesn't it? Because I've got like a whole bunch of characters out here. Are you talking about the dead son? Yeah, yeah, the Jarl's kid. Yeah, and that's a good backup. That's another thing that like I guess I never really thought about it until this moment. But it seems totally legit to me. Is to when you have a bunch of NPCs, because you're not. Yeah, yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, have him summon the grandmother because he doesn't have a relationship with her. I guess I could just hand him a relationship with her, but I think it would be more interesting to to have him, summon her, put her in a prison circle, all of that good stuff, and have Fiona find out about it. That could be badass. Certainly couldn't uh, couldn't cause any problems there whatsoever. I'm gonna make myself a note because none of my players see these. Probably fill this out. Uh, tighten it up. I think that's where we're going. Yes, I can. I actually. So when I did this, I I just created a map. I just stuck all my players on a map that they can't see. Uh, so I don't even have to worry about them never seeing this. Um, I don't really use maps a lot in Burning Wheel. Although I had planned. It's getting late. Unfortunately, I'd planned on actually using. I backed Hex Kit on Kickstarter, and I was planning on using that to do kind of the. But I'm also finding that I'm very shitty at Hex maps. So I'm not sure I want to embarrass myself quite yet. But when I do, I'll probably put that up on a stream. But yeah, no, we've been using this to play D&D, and I have used GM Visible Layers extensively. Usually when I have somebody invisible, I want to fuck with players. Yep. No, I'm not. No need to apologize. Like, there's a lot to Roll20, and depending on what you're playing, use like this much of it to like all the things. For this, I don't really need to use all the things quite so much. And really, I like this never even shows up in play. I kind of just have this for while I'm streaming and doing this. I wind up transferring everything into an actual notebook, because it's easier for me to write notes that way. Okay, so let's figure out some of the other stuff. Most everything else is really centers around the Dominus. I don't even think I have any beliefs for. Everybody kind of has. Nope. Everybody kind of has an idea about what they want out of Saksa, who is the young Varda girl who was committed murder, that started this whole problem off. So I don't even really have any notes about what to do with her, because some things just become obvious. Everybody wants to protect her. They all know that she is not specifically innocent, but justified. She killed a man in self-defense. So as long as there are villagers who are angry and want to see blood, Saksa kind of becomes the MacGuffin that everybody wants. At the moment, until I need her to be something else, Saksa is the Maltese Falcon in this game, and I'm okay with that, because uh, really, she's the catalyst, but not necessarily the most interesting thing to me as a GM. Um, having her be the thing that everybody wants for the time being is kind of enough. Uh, so let me bring up Marius Lurko. Numarius Lurko is the Dominus. He is the Bloody Baron. Currently, he has two beliefs as well. Indentured servitude is the proper justice for the murderer Saksa. I will order my brother to make a public proclamation and execute the sentence. So right now, as far as the the conqueror goes, he's not out for her blood. He needs to make an example of her, because the man that she killed was farmer from the Imperium. Incidentally, also a farmer who has family back in the capital, and that's kind of something that I know came up in play in the game itself, and in discussions between players, when this man was murdered. Does she need to be present for the proclamation? No, not necessarily. I don't. At least I don't think so. I don't imagine that the other Varda are going to be happy about effectively sentencing somebody to slavery, and I don't imagine Colin is going to appreciate the fact that a 16-year-old girl is going to be become somebody's slave, just like he became somebody's slave. He got lucky, but yeah, like I wrote that belief kind of to hit two beliefs with one stone. I needed to give the Dominus something like orders to give to his brother Aldwin, and kind of make him be the voice of it. Right, exactly. We don't know who's going to buy the bond, and the murdered farmer's wife who also has children, is still alive, and they had money. So I'll give you two guesses as to who would buy that bond. But anyway, yeah. So I kind of felt like I could bait Colin's belief, or sorry, Colin's instinct by giving Numarius that belief, and also, Aldwin. Let me take a look at Aldwin. Yeah, he doesn't have any direct beliefs. Yeah, yeah, like all kinds of bullshit can happen. Uh, it's so good, so good. Um, so yeah, Aldwin doesn't really have any beliefs specifically about his brother, aside from getting word to the capital to get some support in here, because he's kind of dealing with this all on his own. And of course, kind of coming at that from an angle, if his brother just keeps piling on these responsibilities to him, like, I'm either going to challenge that belief by like wearing him out of time, just filling up his day so he can't can't effectively go after that without having to choose between, like, I really need to sit down and like sort out these like logistical problems of bringing law to this lawless place, and doing my brother's freaking scut work. So that's kind of where that belief came from. Here's the second belief: the unrest between the barbarians and settlers have severely impacted the recent harvests. Stores are low. I will ask, when I wrote this, Kristen didn't have a name. Fix that now. I will ask Yezi to announce that the dole to the barbarians is now being rationed. So since it's only been a year, and people have been trickling in, and in the process of taking this land over, most of the kind of local warriors have been killed or driven off or injured. There aren't enough people with enough established farms to keep the food flowing. And taking the inspiration as we did for the Imperium from Rome, at least a really like skimmed over Rome. I'm sure somebody that actually knew what they were talking about would be like, "That's not how Romans were," and I'd tell them to go throw themselves in a well. Actually, I imagine that they've stored up what grain they could, being the notorious note takers and accountants that the Romans were, figured out how much they had, how much it would take to feed everybody through a harsh winter or through the remainder of the year. As we start this game, it's fairly early in the spring. Yeah, and that's absolutely something that could happen. I haven't brought this into the game yet. We just kind of never hit that point in our last session. The part of it was dealing with Roll20 like technical issues. But part of it was just that like sometimes the game flows in such a way that like you only wind up hitting a few one or two beliefs really hard in the game. But this one really, I wanted to figure out a way to challenge this. Again, it's Colin's belief, but it puts Yezi kind of on the hook for this, and it sets up this additional complication into the setting. There's a food shortage that has yet to be announced. One of the first things that I did in the session, have an NPC, like just nameless, or no, it was Numerius. That's right. Came out. He was dealing with Aldwin and a bunch of angry villagers that were calling for Soxa's blood. That's the other complication, is that the people, the immigrants that have come here, they saw one of they see that these barbarians have finally like done what they always said that they were going to do, or what they always knew was going to happen, and killed one of the civilized farmers. They don't want to see Soxa go, and become an indentured servant. They would rather see her hung or burned. So, yeah. When we in our previous session, Aldwin had been like dealing with a torches and pitchfork mob, right? Yeah, exactly. That would mean that Soxa has rights, and as far as they're concerned, barbarians have no rights. uh, yeah, Numerius had basically been like, "Oh, and when you're done dealing with that, would you please have Yezi come talk to me, uh, because I need to get that food shortage issue out. Because once that happens, then I get to uh, kind of nail that belief about funding the banquet, uh, because that means that Yezi has to announce it to everybody. Like, she has to be the one to go and tell her own people that they're the ones that are not going to get fed. Uh, all of that, what food stores they have uh, are, the barbarians are getting food rationed, whereas the Imperium citizens may not be. Um, and Colin's supposed to come in and be like, "Hey, you know what would really make everybody feel good? A banquet." Uh, so uh, that was kind of where uh, where things were sitting as far as beliefs went last time. Only a couple of things have majorly changed in the situation. Uh, they've broken Saksa out of prison. They didn't really break Saksa out of prison. They moved her under the pretenses of there's an angry mob outside. Uh, let's move her before they, decide to try and break down the gates. Uh, Currently, Saksa is being held up in Fianna's sort of shrine church deal. Uh, she's being held by Fianna, uh, although still kind of within the grounds of the central keep of the town. Um, Colin and Aldwin had in a somewhat humorous situation managed to keep triggering each other's instincts, uh, and what started out as a fairly innocent like interaction uh, became a punching match, and Colin eventually lost and was hauled away to jail, which is where he is now. I'm not sure that I need any particular notes here for Colin. Basically, he has a belief about, you know making amends to Aldwin, uh, and hopefully getting him to let him out of prison, and then making it up to him by uh, calming the townsfolk. That's what he does. He is the effectively the village priest, even. Uh, because let's see what he has. These are all 4 life path characters, by the way. The priest has a B4 brawling skill, which isn't that it's pretty good for a for a beginning character. But that B2 doctrine and oratory and suasion. Uh, yeah, I mean that's probably one of the highest brawling uh, brawling skills you'll see for a priest, coming straight out of character burning. Usually, you see a little bit higher in suasion uh, and oratory, uh, but he didn't take religious diatribe, which makes me a little bit sad. But we'll see how that goes. Darkened, darkened streets wise, criminal wise, church church politics wise. Uh, yeah, no, they get super quick advances. But that also means that uh, uh that he's going to be failing. Um, yeah, Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think getting Chadwick to help deal with them, kind of the angle I need to come at. I just don't know what yet. And I know, uh, kind of in my yeah, that's possible. I'm gonna I'm going to keep that in mind. Chadwick is actually one of the few characters that I've burned up, but he has two life paths. 14 the 14-year-old kid. I don't know if he's going to pair up with Saksa, but I could totally see a crush there, which could be interesting. Yes, one doctrine, be too inconspicuous, trouble wise, and throwing, because because he's a kid. Um, a dog, and the apostate trait because he's a Varda that is converted. So what could I do? Uh, hmm. No, that's really, really good. I'm just gonna copy and paste that out of the chat. Boom. Look at that. And this is why we this is why I stream these things, so I can just like liberally steal from people in the chat. No, I actually really appreciate that. Um, kind of one of the things that I've had sitting at the back of my brain is that uh, I think the villagers, um, especially after Aldwin has to come out and tell tell everybody, yeah, no, I totally appreciate it. Having more brains give feedback is way better in this game than trying to do everything yourself. Uh, but the thing I'm thinking of is that when when uh, when it comes out that the sentence is going to be uh, indentured servitude uh, rather than capital punishment, uh, that the villagers are going to want to take some kind of revenge, and rather than uh, trying to steal her and string it up because that's not particularly interesting, uh, have them go and in the kind of in the center of the village is a set of standing stones. Um, something like imagine having Stonehenge in the village square, right? Like this is where the locals come for uh, festivals and public religious rites, that kind of thing, and having the farmers come and tear that down and using that as uh, like a serious uh, like rift between uh, between uh, the Varda and the Imperium, and that will give me an opportunity to put Gisela there. I haven't gotten there yet because that's one of those things that's sort of at the back of my mind, and it could. I don't want to say the players could thwart my plans. That's not where I'm going. It's you never know where Burning Wheel is gonna wind up going. Uh, it, that's kind of the beauty of this game is the cyclical nature of beliefs to GM challenging those beliefs and then uh, dealing with the fallout that creates a new situation. Uh, so right now, with the first session, the overall situation hasn't changed that much. Uh, yeah, right. It is. It's totally TV cast. I would if I hadn't ripped off uh so many elements from when we started like setting this game up. Uh, I would watch this campaign. They uh as a TV show. But yeah, like yeah, no, that's the other beautiful thing about using uh relationship maps for these. Uh, I mean, having relationships in Burning Wheel and reincorporating those NPCs is important. Uh, but in these like tight knit situations, uh, having characters that you can pull in to be the foil, and and uh, you know, like really reincorporating them, and kind of letting them uh, uh, poke at your players repeatedly. Uh, on one hand, as a GM, like it just gives you this resource, right? You don't have to make a new character every time uh, you need something. Uh, every time you need something to happen, I don't need to bring somebody new. Uh, yeah, and like literally, there is nobody on this list, with the exception of Saksa, that is not a player character or a relationship. Um, some of them have not come into play yet. Uh, Mako, um, who is the leader of kind of the resistance that's holed up in the forest. That's kind of one of those characters that uh, Mako's almost like a weird kind of node, right? Because as soon as he comes into play, I think it's a he. I'll have to ask Kristen what she was going for uh, with that character. My initial uh, sort of like thought at the back of my head for this entity that hasn't shown up yet is thought it would be interesting to flip the trope of the girl that dressed like a boy to get out of something like I don't know if I'm the only one that loves Dragon Slayer, but that movie's fucking great. Um, but they had that trope where the girl was gonna get uh, lotteried off to get eaten by the dragon, and so her father dressed her like a boy so that he wouldn't have to enter the lottery. I was thinking that it might be interesting if uh, Mako was just kind of a super uh, yeah, kind of like the area Milan thing. Only this time I kind of wanted to do it in reverse and have him just be like one of those really pretty men who managed to and make him young. Like he probably wouldn't have been allowed to go and fight the interlopers. Uh, and so he survived by being able to pass as a woman. Uh, that's just an idea right now. We'll see how it goes when when that comes up. But setting Doc back up. Uh, when I was talking about him being a node, there's also some of these other things that we had kind of like spat out just kind of in the course of burning up the world. Somewhere there's a lost city in the mountains, and that's one of those things that will probably come into prominence as soon as somebody needs something. Like there's a good place to get whatever it is that somebody needs. Uh, I figured with summoning, there's an awful lot of bargaining that can be done with spirits that might need something from a location like that. Uh, the people there's the Varda rebels. That's Mako's group. Uh, and one of the other things, we had decided that we didn't want to do a game with elves and dwarves and orcs. Uh, we've done those, but we did. Yeah, no, especially if the sounds sacred sites are destroyed, like having to go into old ruins uh, to repair that damage, or to replace something, or to appease the spirits who uh angered by that act. uh yeah, there's all kinds of good future grist for kind of either, depending on how things go, like moving from this like somewhat, I mean, it's a political game, not in the terms of like, yeah, giant wolves. We do have great wolves setting. And there's also something hunting uh, the folk that travel the forest roads at night. Uh, like those were two very different things that had come up in the in the course of creating the setting. But uh, really, with the rebels living out there, and both great wolves and some kind of monster out there, uh, that may or may not be connected somehow. Uh, that that really gives me that NPC to kind of bridge those two areas. Like it doesn't have to be something. God, Brotherhood of the Wolf. Um, yeah, like I don't have to have this like, oh, you guys are dealing with all of this like small like local politics problems, and then like giant monster comes out of nowhere. That works sometimes, but uh it's a little easier if you can connect that somehow, and Mako kind of serves as that connection. As soon as they have to go, like the player characters have to go start dealing with those rebels, and with that being a relationship, it's kind of inevitable. And Yezi having beliefs about, I think it was Yezi. Let me double check. Yeah, work with the priests and rebels, get them back to my homeland. Uh, I've been teaching myself how to use Illustrator. Makes that makes some of this stuff kind of frustrating. I'm, I've already gotten used to having more. Yeah, so Yezi's been feeding supplies and information to them, and them to get kids out. Um, oh, sorry. I'm probably like having drop offs. I'm also muttering a lot because I'm tired. I guess it could be my internet connection. So far, it seems like I've my uh, bit rate's been good, as far as I can tell. So I don't know what is cutting out. I guess it could be a. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it probably is. I didn't even know if I put a noise gate on this. Oh, I did. Let me get rid of that because I don't know why I put that on there. Oh, probably because my PC fan is hella loud. That's why. Um, yeah, noise gates are awful, and I don't know why I put that on there. You guys will just have to deal with my room noise for right now. Someday I'll get something like water cool this thing or whatever when I'm not lazy and poor. Uh, yeah, so I don't really know what else I can do here. Um, I think I've pretty much addressed everybody's beliefs. The only two people that had beliefs that changed were Colin and Aldwin, uh, and it was just this one belief, who he wants to interrogate the priest, and the priest wants to apologize to the cop. So I guess they can uh, they kind of have beliefs that challenge each other, uh, which makes my job a hell of a lot easier. Anyway, I have been jabbering for about 2 hours now. I think that's about as long as anybody can hear me talk about my Burning Wheel game. Uh, so I'm gonna go ahead and move out of here. But man, thank you for stopping by. I'm super glad that you got to come in and chat. Uh, it it should go well, and I'm we're going to be streaming the game of course. Um, Normally we stream Sundays. I think I've already said this, but this week because of scheduling we had to move it to Monday. So the live stream should be Monday at about 7:30 Pacific time. It will of course go up uh, onto YouTube. And if you need to know where to find me on YouTube, it's right here. Uh, all of my social medias are there. Twitter is the easiest place to find me. Twitch, of course. YouTube, there is no C in the URL. I'm sure there's a way to change that, but I haven't yet. And now people have bookmarks and subscriptions, and I don't want to fuck with any of that stuff. So youtube.com/shayworth or SC on Twitter. And of course, twitch.tv/SC where you find all of my bullshit. This game, our Tuesday night D&D games, which has been Curse of Strahd, which we are almost done with. And we have narrowly avoided TPKs. I think we still have all of our original characters in that game. Everybody's still playing who they started the game with. And that's pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course, this on Wednesday nights, and here and there I do video games. Right now I'm doing Torment Tides of Numenera with funny voices. I've those of you who know me in real life know that I actually went to acting school. So I've been practicing doing silly voices and reading all of the dialogue boxes in Tides of Numenera. Actually, that game's pretty cool so far. It feels an awful lot like Planescape Torment, which I think was the idea, which was hot. Anyway, but yes, thanks again for watching. I am still learning how to end streams, apparently. So that's what I'm going to practice right now. Good night. I will see everybody on Monday and then Tuesday.